stuff above the black line is Bible. The stuff below the black line, okay. All right. The NIV Study Bible says this creature that we just talked about is probably an elephant or a hippopotamus. Y'all got a zoo in Denver?
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know, all I know is you got snow and mountains. I ain't never been. But anyway, have y'all been to the elephant pen lately? Have you ever watched an elephant walk away from you? Does it look like a cedar? Well, our crack graphic artist staff is going to show you how this works. Could that creature have been a hippopotamus? Okay. I'll take that as a no. Could it have been an elephant? Okay. I'm with you so far. Could that have been a dinosaur? Sure fits, doesn't it? But guess what? It doesn't say dinosaur. It says behemoth. What is that? You know what else the Bible says? It says stuff about things called... I thought y'all were laughing at me. Dragons and fiery flying serpents. I wonder what those things were. Well, they couldn't have been dinosaurs because it didn't say dinosaur, right? Well, anyway. But see, he's supposed to be looking out over this field and he's seen all these dinosaurs herding together and everything. And it's just, he's just amazed because men and dinosaurs have never been together, right? Men have never seen dinosaurs. So if that's the case, and I've actually had people come up to me and say, you creationists, you don't even believe dinosaurs existed, do you? Sure, I've seen dinosaur bones, You ever seen been to the museum, seen the T-Rex skeleton? Sure. But the thing is, how do we know dinosaurs existed? How about that? We dig them up, right? Let me ask you a question. If you dig up a fossil, what have you got?
Fossil.
Right. What do you know about that fossil? It's dead. It's dead or it's very, very still. Okay. You've dug it up. It's dead. What else do you know? But we're going to, as part of the dead thing, we're going to assume it was alive, then dead is part of the same thing. What I'm getting at is you may know what it was. If you've got enough of the specimen, you may know it was a fish or a fern or a T-Rex or a trilobite or whatever it might be. What else do you know?
Covered by mud. Where you found it, it was very simple.
That's true, but that's just part of all fossils. The things, what do you know specifically about that fossil? Right, but what does that prove? Because he may not have died there. Could have died 100 miles upstream and got washed down in sediment flow. See, the thing is, my point is, what you know is it was alive and now it's dead, and it may know what it. Everything else, you're kind of sort of making assumptions on, right? I mean, all fossils we presume were buried quickly so they didn't decompose. But I'm talking about a specific fossil. What do you know? It's dead, and you may know what it is. What's that? It's a drawing. Now, we didn't actually go out west to the cave walls and draw that with chalk because the park ranger would have got really upset with us. So we did this with Photoshop. But anybody know what that is? Now, what do they call this drawing? Petroglyph, right. The thing is, you can go out west and you can actually see these drawings on cliff walls and in caves. And what these really have been presumed to be by the sociologists and anthropologists is sort of like the community bulletin board for the society of the time. The Native Americans or whoever it may have been, of course in Europe, maybe it's the cultures in France or wherever. But, you'd see an arrow and a waterfall and a bear and an antelope and a tree. And it was sort of like, this is where we kill the deer or this is where you find water. And you see all these things on the cliff walls. But then you see these strange creatures like this. And some of the anthropologists have called these things mystical creatures of worship. Now, the things, the rock is real, the bear is real, the antelope's real, the tree's real, the waterfall's real, but then you have mystical creatures of worship, which maybe could have looked like this. Now, what they don't tell you is that certain of these mystical creatures of worship in the western United States are the same as some of the mystical creatures of worship in Europe. So they were worshiping mystical creatures at the time before high-speed internet and CNN, and they were worshiping kind of the same creatures. It's amazing how people's imaginations run wild with them. But see, you have all these men, and I don't know if that's an antelope or whatever it is, but this is an example of what these drawings look like. Now, I can't see this close in. Can you see the outline back in the back? Because I'm always too close. I don't see the contrast. And so, see, that's what that is. Do you know many creatures that look like that? That's obviously another elephant, right? Or this is the gerbil that my daughters have in the cage in their bedroom. This is another one. That's a pretty impressive thing. There's a petroglyph at the National Bridges National Monument that bears a striking resemblance to a dinosaur, specifically a brontosaurus, with a long tail, neck, small head, and all. I guess this quote was before they found out the brontosaurus wasn't real. But anyway, they've actually taken rubbings of these things, which are very... I've never actually been out to see these things in person, but I've seen some of the tracings and rubbings, and they don't look like any animal that I'm aware of exists now. So the thing I want to ask you is, when we see this on K-Wall, shouldn't we be shocked? Shouldn't we be like very impressed? Wow, look what we found. We see evidence of these mystical creatures of worship. Of course, everything else on the cave wall is real except